Late Night Health continues. I'm Mark Alyn, along with the insane Daryl Wayne. We go to Orange County, California right now. We're going to speak with Lisa M. Roseman. She's written a book called The Highest of Care, A Journey Through Cancer. And this is a book about her journey with her mom and her mom's cancer, as well as her connection with God. Lisa, welcome to Late Night Health.
Thank you, Mark, for having me.
I'm really curious. Do you think that God answers everyone's prayers?
Good question. I think that God can answer prayers in different ways, and sometimes, it might be a no, or there might be a different direction that God provides. What I can say is that He's faithful in the direction that He has our lives on. So, good question.
Thank you. I'm the other thing is that everybody has their own way of thinking about God. Some people don't think about God. Other people communicate with God or attempt to communicate with God from all walks of life, and they can be Jewish, Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, etc., etc. And if I've left anybody out, I apologize. My point is, does God really care, in your opinion, what you believe, or who you believe?
From my experience, He does. I had an incredible miracle happen when my mom passed away, and it was God's way of communicating that He's alive, He's real, and He wants us, was the message that I felt was impressed upon what I'm supposed to share with people. I do an inner healing ministry called Sozo. I've been doing it for over a decade, and it helps people to connect with God in the way that they are wired to do so, whether you hear, see, sense, or feel. God is relational, and so that means that when you're in a relationship, there's always a response. And so sometimes people just need to be trained or taught or, in that encounter to receive that truth. So a relational God means that He does respond.
I know that sometimes, some time ago, I read some books that talked about communicating with God and how God would communicate back with us. That a lot of people don't listen. They don't open their hearing for that. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I think sometimes the focus can be on, do you hear God? And we're waiting for this audible, voice to come through. And what I've found in the time that I've done this ministry is that some people may not hear, but they may see. God may give a person a vision or a picture in their mind. He may give them a sense that He's there. So it kind of helps the person relax when I'm talking with them about hearing God versus encountering Him. So it's really opening up a place in your life where, however God made you to encounter Him, it may not be hearing necessarily, but it could be those other ways as well. So God's very creative in the way that He communicates with us. So we're able to then hone in on the person's individual way and then help them in the process.
To me, it would be George Burns talking to me. Your book
it was the cigars that got him, I think.
That's it. Well, he'd have to be without the cigars because I don't like the smell, right?
Me neither. Yeah, I'm with you there.
Yeah. Okay, so George, anytime, come on back. Your mother, you and your mother had a kind of an off-again, on-again relationship, would you say?
Yes, we did. My mom, bless her heart, she had post-traumatic stress and some other things that prevented her from dealing with life's things as they come along. And so when she became ill, this was no different than other things that she'd had to deal with her life. And yes, when things were great, they were amazing, and when things were hard, they were really difficult. So there was some turbulence there.
And when you kind of saw that she had a problem, and she started to limp, she said, "Oh, it's nothing. It's just her knee. It's arthritis." It turned out to be metastatic breast cancer that had spread pretty much throughout her body. Did that change your relationship with her? She had to have somebody help. She had to have a caregiver. You were the caregiver. Did that improve your relationship?
It made it difficult, Mark. I think sometimes with parents and relatives, we do better when there's distance. And the closer you are in proximity to some loved ones, it's more difficult. So that was the case with my mom. I had to have her come and live with me because she could no longer live on her own. And everything happened very quickly. So from the month of January to March, I had to completely pack up her apartment and move her to another state. And with the stress of that, along with her diagnosis and her physical challenges, and then living under the same roof, I would have to say that it was probably the hardest thing that I've ever gone through in a 22-month journey of caring for her. So it changed me in ways that I feel are going to be able to help other people. But it was very difficult, and I tell people, I wouldn't want to do it over again, but I would because of what happened at the end with her. So very hard, very difficult caregiving journey.
Was your mother in a lot of pain?
Yes, she masked it well, meaning that she didn't communicate in ways that would have been more helpful, that I would know when the pain was too much. But definitely towards the end, she had the cancer ended up in her femur bone, and the doctors had to put in a metal rod to give support to her leg. And of course, that's painful in and of itself. But as the cancer spread, there became, other areas where the pain was hard to control, partly because she didn't communicate with me what was happening, and that got worse towards the end, I would say.
Got it. Let's fast forward to the end, and we only have about a minute or so. Tell us about your miracle.
Oh, well, when my mom passed, there was a week of a time frame that happened before she actually passed away. And God was doing a lot of supernatural activity that you can read about in the book. The end of her life, I actually saw my mom leave her body. It was a life after death encounter I had with her. And Mark, I did see and got to witness with my eyes open, fully awake, what we look like when our time comes that we are transformed into eternity. And extremely powerful. There's a video that I made about what happened. It changed my faith in ways that made God more real to me than in the 30 years that I've been a Christian.
And before that, you were not a Christian?
I was, for 30 years, been a Christian, but this experience and this encounter made some of the promises that I chose to believe out of faith something more real to me because of the visual display of what God did when my mom passed.
Good. Lisa, thank you very much for spending some time with us. The name of the book, The Highest of Care, A Journey Through Cancer by Lisa M. Roseman, and you can find it at Amazon and other places. We appreciate your time today, Lisa. Robert Clancy is up next, and we will be wrapping up our show after that. I'm Mark Alyn, along with the insane Daryl Wayne. Don't go away. More coming up. Recently, I met Jacqueline from Bright here in Los Angeles. She gave me a hearing exam and then showed me how to hear again with the new Signia Pure Series hearing aids, and she can give you your life back too. I hear birds chirping, birds cooing, and even my wife. They easily connect to my smartphone. The Signia hearing aids are amazing, and with the charge and go, I don't have to fiddle with batteries and hear all day long. Not hearing is frustrating for you and your family. I know you don't have a problem, but trust me, call Bright Here now for a free hearing exam, a $125 value, yours free, just for making an appointment now. There are offices throughout the Los Angeles area. Call Bright Here now at 323-424-7100. That's 323-424-7100 for a free hearing exam. There's no obligation. Call now, 323-424-7100, or visit them on the web at brighthere.com.
Welcome to Guide to the Soul. This is Robert Clancy. Opening your heart is the only way to allow all the light in. Unconditional love does exist, but it takes trust, something not a lot of people are willing to give. But how can you expect it if you don't provide it too? All hearts are refillable, rechargeable, and renewable. So why worry about being burned? By giving, you have everything to gain. Think of how beautiful your life would be if someone loved you without barriers, gave all of their heart to you without conditions, and wrapped their soul around you like it was your last day on earth. Today, you can be that person for someone else.
For more inspiration from Robert Clancy, visit guidetothesoul.com or go to the Moments with Robert page on latenighthealth.com.
The latest from the greatest, the best in new music by classic rockers, with your host, the insane Daryl Wayne.
This is Alice Cooper, and if Daryl Wayne is insane, what does that make me? Criminally insane. Stick around to find out.
Many of the artist interviews for the latest from the greatest have been captured on audio book. There is a Volume 1 and Volume 2. Great information and conversations with people in the industry and people surrounded by the industry, and of course the rock stars themselves.
I'm the Reverend Al Green, and you're listening to the insane Daryl Wayne. And I said Wayne Insane.
You can find it on Amazon or Blackstone Audio. Search for the latest from the greatest from Daryl Wayne, DARRELL WAYNE.
Hello, this is Weird Al Yankovic, and you're listening to the insane Daryl Wayne, aren't you?
Role models. They can make all the difference. In our world today, they have never been more important. One of the nation's most successful mentoring organizations is Jewish Big Brothers Big Sisters of Los Angeles. Their mission is to assist youth in achieving their full potential through innovative and impactful programs. And no nonprofit agency does it better. Jewish Big Brothers Big Sisters of LA serves Jewish children, boys and girls, in our local community with a mentoring program that's been going strong since 1915. That's only the beginning. This nationally known agency owns and operates Camp Bob Waldorf. Its summer camping and weekend retreat programs enrich the lives of youth throughout Greater Los Angeles. Then there's a college support program, and last but not least, work that helps kids all over the world through the Teen Talk app. Want to learn more? Go to jbbsla.org. Donate. Get involved. There's no better way to make a difference. Late Night Health continues. I'm Mark Alyn, along with the insane Daryl Wayne. We're going to talk about transcending grief with Robert Clancy right now from guidetothesoul.com. That's guidetothesoul.com. Robert, what do you mean by transcending grief?
Well, my inspirational thought on transcending grief is, releasing that or transcending it or going through it is not about letting go of your loved ones, but rather creating room in your heart for the love that you have for them. And it's really about sharing that love or those stories or memories and all of that. Grief is a direct translation of the amount of love you have. So if you're in a great amount of pain, that just shows how much love you really have. And it never, really goes away. It's just going to transform into something else over time, and that's what heals and starts to heal that wound. But, I heard that it's never about really letting go of all of it. It's about holding on to that, because if you do, you're going to lose that love.
And they say that time heals. Is that true?
And it is a good component of healing, and, time does help. And obviously physical wounds, it takes time for them to heal. And that's really one of the components of going through it. And, there's the initial shock if you lose somebody suddenly, and then there's the, long-term after effect of that person not being there. But, somebody asked me a question the other day on an interview, and they asked, do you think that people, when they go to the other side or in heaven, can they communicate with you? And she said something about she found a pile of pennies in her car that she thought she had a hole in her pocket. It was the day that her father passed away. And when she turned the car on, his favorite song was on the radio, and this weird pyramid of pennies was next to her. And she kept finding them for days after that, pennies everywhere. So it's kind of like pennies from heaven. I think that there are ways for that to happen, and, you just pay attention to the signs, and sometimes you'll find comfort in that.
And sometimes people shut that out. They don't open themselves up to hearing those kind of messages from beyond, if you will.
Right, and, I've heard that, you can't speak to the person anymore. They're not there to talk to you. They're not there. And I always looked at it that, when my parents passed away, and my best friend, my niece, everybody, I have, one of the greatest cheerleading teams around me at all times. I couldn't think of anything more beautiful than that.
You mean from those who passed away?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel they're everywhere and anywhere all the time.
I think most of us, those of us over 40, 50, 60 and older have lost at least a few people that have been significant in our lives, grandparents. I can remember my grandmother, and one of the last memories I have is taking her to see a play, and we went out afterwards and I got her a drink, and she never drank, and she had a buzz, and it was so much fun, and I think of that and smile. And my grandfather, I remember not feeling well, yet wanting to help me and take me someplace that nobody else could. Just really good memories. That helps also to keep their memory alive, yet kind of dulls the pain of their passing as well.
Right, and that's really, one of the key things. It's not necessarily dulling the pain, but it's transcending it into something else. And when you think fondly on these stories, they're bringing a smile to your face. They're bringing a smile to your heart. And sharing those stories with other people. Now I can think of really funny stories about my father and share them with other people. And he's still with me because of all those memories and all those things that he instilled in me, and all the funny moments we had and everything, all the challenges we went through. All of those things are there as part of life.
I made a mistake in looking at your notes. I wrote down overcoming grief, and you told me it was transcending grief. What's the difference?
Transcending is living with it. It's sort of passing through it and going rather than overcoming. For me, overcoming sounds like there's something in your way and it shouldn't be there, and you need to conquer that. Grief is not something that's in your way. It's part of you. And as I said, it's that love. It's a direct translation of love. So you're not going to overcome love. You're going to transcend what that grief is into more of what it actually is, and it is love.
Love is, as you've said for years now, love is the most powerful force on earth?
It is. It is the most powerful word. I was with a group of small children when I was Spider-Man, and I asked them what's the most powerful word. Do you want to know what that is? And all their eyes got big, and I said, it's love. And they were like, whoa. So, for me, that. Love never dies. It's like an element that exists forever.
You know, it's funny because the other day I was thinking of my dad, who's been gone for many, many years. And I was just remembering that he was a good guy, and that he was a good guy, and that he cared about me and my sisters and my mom, and gave everything for that. Those kinds of memories are just you can't forget those. I don't think about it all the time, but every now and then something reminds me of him, and or my mom or my grandparents, and I think that's a way of actually keeping them alive.
Yeah, absolutely, and they live on in that, and what you're experiencing is the living element of love within that memory that you have. And it's more than a memory, it's a loving memory. And that's really how you need to look at that.
What if the person who's passed is still bothering you from the grave? In other words, maybe they weren't the sweetest parent, the sweetest brother or sister, aunt, grandparent. How do you transcend that?
Well, that's an interesting one because I haven't heard of that before. But if you are getting, some perils from beyond, I don't know if that's even possible. I think everything has to. There's an awareness and an awakening and all-knowing on the other side that they'll have, and all of their questions and angst and all those things are going to almost seem meaningless or become meaningless on that plane. So I don't believe there are any perils that will come from that side.
Well, what I mean is that when you think of somebody who's passed, they were mean to you. They didn't care. They didn't show love for you. And you're angry about that. You're still grieving that they left.
Yeah, and there was something, it was actually Dr. Shawn DePiron. She works with forgiveness, and she did this amazing exercise. There were people in the room, and they all had somebody in that field that was like they wanted to hear them say something so that they could forgive them. And they said, I wish now this person's dead, and all I wanted them to do was say this. And they had a person step in as a proxy and say that to the person. And I saw around the room these people breaking down, crying, and they suddenly were able to release that. So that will come from that forgiveness component. And sometimes, you need to hear those words, have somebody else speak them to you if that person's unwilling or unable to say those things to you.
Robert, thank you very much for your insight today, as always. Robert Clancy, you can visit him at guidetothesoul.com or visit us at latenighthealth.com. Well, that wraps up this edition. Daryl, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And thank you for listening. Have a good week, everybody. Have a great week. Most importantly, have a healthy week. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.